Hi, everybody. Hello. Happy Sunday. If you all can hear me and see me clearly, give me a thumbs up in the chat. We're going to get started in just a couple minutes with today's live lesson. We'll wait just a minute for others to join in. All right, I'm starting to see lots of hellos. Perfect. Okay, so while we're waiting for everyone to join in, first of all, good morning or good afternoon or good evening. Happy Sunday, wherever you are in the world. Maybe you're starting off your Sunday like me, or you're ending your Sunday, about to go to bed. Today, our live lesson topic is going to be direct versus indirect questions. So if you haven't studied that before, stay tuned. We're going to cover all of that today. While we're waiting, please let me know where you're watching from today, and also let me know, what did you do over the weekend? Did anyone do anything interesting? Did you travel somewhere? Did you stay home and relax? Let me know where you're watching from and also what you did over the weekend. And I'll go ahead and introduce myself for those of you who haven't watched my live lessons before. My name is Molly. I'm a tutor on Cambly. I am from the state of Tennessee in the US. And I had a great weekend. Friday, I went hiking. Saturday, I worked all day. And today, I'm here with you all to give this live lesson. Hello, Malaysia, Pakistan. Hi, Japan, and hello, Italy. Hello from Singapore. I see some of you went out shopping. Someone did their online studies. Hi, Moldova. Oh, someone else also went hiking. I went hiking to a waterfall. It was very beautiful. Hi, Saudi Arabia. Hello, Bangladesh. Someone helped take care of their cousin this weekend. That's awfully generous of you. Hello, Sri Lanka and Nepal and Ghana. Someone sending love from India. Some of you decided to stay home this weekend by choice, others because you weren't allowed to go out. Hopefully you made use of the time that you were spending at home. Hi to Slovakia and Canada, Romania. All right, we'll give it just one more minute and then we're going to get started on today's lesson. Did anyone do anything really exciting this weekend? Or really interesting? Hi, Brazil. Hello, Poland. Hi, South Africa and Cambodia and Thailand. Someone went to the village this weekend and had a great time. Very nice. Someone welcomed their niece into the world. That's big news. Very exciting. Congratulations. All right, great. Well, whether you stayed home or went out and did something exciting, I hope you all had a great weekend. And today our topic again is going to be direct questions versus indirect questions. I know this looks like a lot of words, but we're going to go through all of it, so don't worry. If you need to leave the lesson early today, no worries. It's going to be recorded and uploaded on Cambly's YouTube channel so that you can go back and watch it again, all right? Hopefully all of you are ready to get started. Again, my name is Molly, and today we're going to be talking about direct versus indirect questions. So if you are new to this topic, we're just going to go over the basic terms of what a direct question is and what an indirect question is. Maybe some of you have studied this already, so it's a good review. Either way, we're going to go through both and do some examples together, okay? So we're going to start with direct questions first, then we're going to go over indirect questions, and then we're going to compare the two and do some practice. So make sure you're ready at your keyboards. I'm going to have you type some answers in the chat in just a bit, okay? So let's start off with covering a direct question. So questions are a part of our everyday life. Direct questions are what we consider normal questions, or a question that we would ask a friend, a family member, maybe a colleague that we know really well, or in a comfortable setting, okay? So it's a very informal, normal question that we would ask. It's not something we use in a formal situation necessarily. So a direct question often follows what we call quasm, as you see right here, Q-U-A-S-M. I'm going to call it quasm, okay? So direct questions often follow the quasm format, not always, so we'll talk about that in just a moment. So you might be wondering, what is quasm? I've never heard of that. I've never seen that before. Maybe you have studied this before with direct questions. So quasm is what we follow to form a direct question, and it stands for question word, auxiliary verb, subject, and main verb, okay? So this is the format that a direct question follows. Not always, but oftentimes. So question word, who knows what a question word is? Can anyone give me any examples of a question word? Question words like who, what, where, when, why, how, okay? Those are all question words. So when we're forming a direct question, oftentimes we're going to begin that question with one of those question words: who, what, where, when, why, or how, okay? Next comes an auxiliary verb. After that is our subject in the question, and then we have our main verb. Now let's look at some examples. I'm going to put this right up here so that hopefully you can see it. Good, you can see it, perfect. So some examples of a direct question using this quasm format. Where do you work? Where is our question word. Do is our auxiliary verb. You is our subject. And work is our main verb. Where do you work? Okay. Where did you buy that shirt? Again, where is our question word. Did is our auxiliary verb. You is our subject. And buy is our main verb. Where did you buy that shirt? Why didn't he come to work? This time our question word is why. Our auxiliary verb is did in the negative form. He is our subject. Come is our main verb. Why didn't he come to work? And how many chickens does Molly have? How is our question word. How many, I guess. Does is our auxiliary verb. Molly is our subject. And have is our main verb. How many chickens does Molly have? Okay, these are all examples of direct questions that follow this quasm format, okay, where we have the question word, the auxiliary verb, the subject, and then the main verb. Now, there are some exceptions. The direct question does not always follow this format. So what are those exceptions? When we have yes, no questions, the answer is either yes or no. It doesn't follow this format. Usually, it does not have a question word. So we're just left with ASM, okay? The auxiliary verb, the subject, and the main verb. For example, do you like coffee? Do is our auxiliary verb, you is our subject, and like is our main verb. Do you like coffee? The answer is either yes or no. Another exception is questions where the main verb is be. Okay, our main verb is be. These will not follow the quasm format. For example, is he a teacher? Is he a teacher? Is our main verb. So again, we don't follow that quasm format. Or Are you hungry? Are you hungry? We don't have a question word in that question. Okay? So, really quickly, direct questions are pretty easy, so we're not going to spend as much time on these. We're going to spend more time on indirect questions. Direct questions are normal questions we use in a comfortable setting with people that we know well, like friends, family, or colleagues, maybe in informal situations. Most of the time, a direct question will follow this quasum format where we have a question word, who, what, where, when, why, and how, our auxiliary verb, our subject, and our main verb. However, if the direct question is a yes or no question, we don't follow that quasum format. We just have our auxiliary verb, our subject, and our main verb. If our main verb is be, again, we don't follow that quasum format, okay? So we're going to practice really quickly this direct question. I'm going to give you an answer, and you're going to form the question. For example, if I say, my house is near the lake, the question for that answer would be, where is your house? That's the correct question. So if I say, my house is near the lake, you would type, where is your house? Okay? Let's practice. I have 3 examples. I'm going to give you the answer, and you need to write the question that goes with the answer. For example, she traveled to Egypt in 2007. She traveled to Egypt in 2007. Now, what would be the question to this answer? Pay attention to the date, right? So maybe there's more than one answer. I see one correct answer. Ah, good. Okay, very good. I see 2 correct answers. Good. So your direct question could be, where did she travel to in 2007? Or when did she travel to Egypt? Okay, where did she travel in 2007? She traveled to Egypt in 2007. Or when did she travel to Egypt? She traveled to Egypt in 2007. Very good. Okay, let's do 2 more. I'm tired because I stayed up late to study for my exam. This is my answer. So if I answer this, what question are you asking me? What direct question? I'm tired because I stayed up late to study for my exam. Follow the quasum format in this. What question word are you going to use? Great job. I already see some right answers. Very good. Good. It should be, why are you tired? Why are you tired? Why is our question word. Are is our auxiliary verb. You is the subject. Okay. Why are you tired? I'm tired because I stayed up late to study for my exam. Very good. Easy peasy, right? One more. Let's do one more. And then we're going to move on to indirect questions, which are a little more difficult. The answer is, the park is next to the shopping mall and near the river. The park is next to the shopping mall and near the river. So what would my question be? If this is my answer, what is the question going to be? The park is next to the shopping mall and near the river. Perfect. You all have got it. Good job. Where is the shopping mall? Oh, I'm sorry. I got the answer wrong. It should be, where is the park? I wrote shopping mall. Where is the park? Very good. Where is the park? The park is next to the shopping mall and near the river. Great job. Okay, so this is direct questions in a nutshell, all right? We're going to move on to indirect questions because it's a little more tricky. And then we're going to compare the two so that you can see the difference between direct questions and indirect questions. And then we're going to practice. Thank you all for laughing with me. I got the answer wrong. You know, I prepared these late last night. I'm tired because I stayed up late preparing the lesson and I got an answer wrong. Everyone makes mistakes. Okay, so indirect questions. When do we use indirect questions? So direct questions are normal questions because we're using them with friends, family members, or people we know well. However, indirect questions are going to be formal, polite, professional. We use indirect questions with maybe someone we don't know well or in a very professional setting or a complete stranger, okay? We use indirect questions when we are asking favors or requesting information. So very straightforward, a direct question, direct is straightforward and direct, right? We're getting straight to the point. An indirect question is not as straightforward. We add some fun, polite phrases to make it sound less demanding, right? So our goal with indirect questions is to sound more polite and less demanding by adding some fun phrases, which I'm going to show you. So when we have an indirect question, we use these common phrases. There's actually more. If you know of any more, feel free to type them in the chat. I just wrote down a few that are used very commonly with indirect questions. Here are some examples. Can you tell me, or could you tell me, blah, 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 the question. Do you know, or do you happen to know? I like to say, do you happen to know? I was wondering, blah, blah, blah. I was wondering actually changes to a statement, not a question. Do you have any idea? Would you mind, blank? Would it be possible, blank? Is there any chance? Or I'd like to know, okay? And again, these are just some. There's more common phrases that are used with indirect questions, okay? So keep these in mind. I'm actually going to put these up here and we are going to practice them in just a minute, okay? So again, indirect questions are more polite. So we take a direct question and we make it indirect by adding a common phrase, okay? Some differences between a direct question and an indirect question. First of all, the structure changes of an indirect question. Of course, we add a phrase at the beginning of the question to make it sound very nice and polite and less straightforward. If you have the verb be in an indirect question, it needs to come after the subject. This is different than a direct question. The verb be in a direct question comes before the subject, but in an indirect question, we move the verb be to after the subject, okay? For example, could you tell me what time it is? If we ask this as a direct question, we would say, what time is it? What time is it? But if we're making this an indirect question to sound more polite, we would say, could you tell me what time is it? I'm sorry, what time it is? And we move is, the verb be, to after the subject. Could you tell me what time it is? Another example, can you tell me where the restroom is? If we're asking this as a direct question, we would just say, where's the restroom? But if we're asking a stranger, this might sound a little rude, right? And not so polite. So we want to change it to indirect and say, can you tell me where the restroom is? And is, where is the restroom? Is comes before the subject. Where is the restroom? In the indirect question, we move is to after the subject. Can you tell me where the restroom is? Okay? Another rule to follow in indirect questions is the verbs are conjugated. The verbs are conjugated. What do I mean by this? Direct questions, the verbs are not conjugated. And the indirect questions, they are. For example, the direct question would be, how much does this laptop cost? This is following the quasum form. Remember the quasum form. Our question word, how, our auxiliary verb, does, laptop is our subject, and cost is our main verb. How much does this laptop cost? If we want to make it an indirect question, we need to use one of our common phrases. So in this case, I chose, I'd like to know how much this laptop costs. So we need to conjugate our main verb. In this case, we add an S, right? How much this laptop cost? So direct question would be, how much does this laptop cost? An indirect question, maybe we're asking the employee of a store and we want to sound more polite. We would say, excuse me, I'd like to know how much this laptop costs. Another example of this would be, as a direct question, maybe we ask, what time does the bank open? Maybe I ask my mother, hey mom, what time does the bank open? But let's say I'm in the middle of the city and I'm asking a stranger I don't know. I would change this to an indirect question using a common phrase. Do you know is the common phrase I chose. Do you know what time the bank opens? Again, I have to conjugate my main verb open to opens. In the direct question, we don't conjugate the verb. In the indirect, we do. Do you know what time the bank opens? Okay. Our next rule is if there are auxiliaries did, do, or does in the direct question, we don't use those auxiliary verbs in an indirect question. So you won't see do, did, or does. They're not used in indirect questions. For example, if my direct question is, why did they move abroad? Why did they move abroad? So again, I have my question word why, my auxiliary verb is did, my subject is they, and my main verb is move. I want to make this an indirect question. I want to be more polite while I'm asking this. So I choose my common phrase, I was wondering why I don't use my auxiliary verb in the indirect question, okay? I get rid of it. The auxiliary verb do, did, or does will never be used in an indirect question. It doesn't make sense. I was wondering why they moved abroad. I was wondering why they moved abroad. Remember, we have to conjugate the verb. So it's past tense. Why did they move abroad? So our main verb needs to be conjugated to past tense, okay? I was wondering why they moved abroad. One more example of this. If our direct question is, when does she graduate from the university? When is our question word, right? We're following quasum for the direct question. Does is our auxiliary verb. She is our subject. Graduate is our main verb. When does she graduate from the university? We want to ask in a more polite way with an indirect question. So the phrase I chose was, could you tell me? Could you tell me? Does, remember we don't use does in an indirect question. Get rid of it and conjugate our verb. Could you tell me when she graduates from the university? Okay? Could you tell me when she graduates from the university? Last rule for indirect questions. Don't worry, we'll go over this again and we're going to practice. If the direct question is a yes or no question and we want to make it an indirect question, we need to add the word if, okay? If the direct question is a yes or no question and we want to change it to indirect, we need to add the word if. For example, let's say our direct question is, do I need a lot of experience for the job? Do I need a lot of experience for the job? Remember with a direct question, when it's a yes or no question, it doesn't follow the quasum form. okay? We just start with the auxiliary verb. So this is a yes or no question. Do I need a lot of experience for the job? Now I want to make this indirect. Maybe I'm applying for jobs and I want to ask the employer. I was wondering is my common phrase. I was wondering if, because it's yes or no, so if will come after our common phrase and before our question. I was wondering if I need a lot of experience for the job. Okay? Another example could be, let's see, are you going to travel next week? I could say, I was wondering if you're going to travel next week, right? It's a yes or no question, so I need to add if. Okay, let's review this really quickly. We're gonna do some practice. Okay, I know if you're joining late, maybe you're a little lost, no worries. If you have questions, type them in the chat while I'm just covering the basics, okay? So direct questions are normal questions used for friends, family, comfortable situations. Usually they follow the Quasm format. An indirect question, however, is when we take a direct question and make it more polite by adding a common phrase to the beginning, okay? It's when we want to sound nicer, less demanding, when we're speaking to someone we don't know well, when we're asking a favor from someone, or when we are requesting more information, okay? Some rules about indirect questions is that the verb be will be moved to after the subject. In a direct question, the verb be is before the subject. In indirect questions, it's moved after the subject. Verbs, the main verb gets conjugated in indirect questions. The auxiliary verbs do, does, and did are not used in indirect questions. And if the direct question is yes or no, then we're going to add if, the word if, after our common phrase, okay? Now, something I want to mention is these common phrases, indirect and direct questions are also better to study if you are going into an intermediate level. And for the common phrases, you need to be able to interpret the situation, okay? What I mean by that is that not all of these phrases can work for any question you want to ask. For example, let's say I have the question, when does she graduate from the university? When does she graduate from the university? I would not use the common phrase, would it be possible? Because that doesn't make sense. Would it be possible she graduates from the she graduate, right? It doesn't make sense. So I need to be able to understand the context, interpret the situation, so I know which common phrase I can use for my indirect question. So this is something that's a little more intermediate, is being able to interpret what phrase can I use to be polite for my indirect question, okay? All right, we're going to practice. Let me see if anyone has any questions so far before we practice. Someone asks, can I use indirect with friends or just direct? Yeah, you can still use indirect with friends. So maybe you want to ask your friend a favor and you just want to sound more polite. Of course, you can use an indirect question with friends. That's totally fine. Let's see if anyone has any other questions. Great question. Someone asked, can we use whether instead of if? Yes, I didn't include that in this lesson just for time. You can actually use if or whether. Yes. Whether, W-H-E-T-H-E-R, that weather. Not weather like rain and sun, right? You can use if or whether. So if we do an example with that, so the same example, I could say, I was wondering whether I need a lot of experience for the job. That's a great question. Okay. Let's see. Also, when we're doing direct and indirect questions, we're using all tenses, right? It's not just one tense. We can use present tense, past tense, present perfect tense. We're using all of the tenses. I tried to mix in some with the examples. Maybe I didn't use all of them, but I tried. Okay, if you have any more questions, keep typing them. We're going to practice because I know we're already at 30 minutes. So what I have is an indirect question. Okay, I'm going to give you an indirect question, and I want you to change it to a direct question. All right, so the question I'm giving you is indirect. It's polite and formal. I want you to change it to a direct question, how you would ask a friend or a family member. All right, so your indirect question is, I'd like to know if you plan on taking Cambly class this week, a Cambly class this week. So this is an indirect question or statement, right? I'd like to know is our common phrase. And then the question or statement is, if you plan on taking a Cambly class this week. So if you want to make this direct, how would you change it to a direct question, to ask a friend, to a normal question? We'll give everyone a minute. Very good. There's a more than one way to make this question as well. Good. I already see some right answers. Very good. So again, what makes this an indirect question? This common phrase, right? I'd like to know if. If we just want to be straightforward, get right to the point, we can ask, do you plan on taking a Cambly class this week? Or are you planning on taking a Cambly class this week? Right? So there's more than one answer. So straight to the point. Do you plan on taking a Cambly class this week? Are you planning on taking a Cambly class this week? This is a direct question. If we want to make it indirect, we need to add one of those common phrases to make it sound more polite. I'd like to know if you plan on taking a Cambly class this week. Good job. Okay, let's do another one. So your indirect question is there any chance we could change the meeting to Thursday? So my common phrase to make this more polite is there any chance? Is there any chance we could change the meeting to Thursday? Maybe I'm asking my boss, right? I'm asking this favor. But let's say you're talking to your colleague who's your great friend. How would I change this to a direct question? What ways would I make this direct? Good. Very good. Great job. So it would be, can we change the meeting to Thursday, right? This is direct, straight to the point. Can we change the meeting to Thursday? Indirect, is there any chance we could change the meeting to Thursday? This just sounds nicer, more polite. All right, good job. Okay, now we're going to do the opposite to practice. I'm going to give you a direct question, and you're going to change it to an indirect question. Now, there's more than one answer. Remember, when you are changing a direct question to an indirect question, you need to choose a common phrase and follow the rules, okay? Maybe I need to step out of the way so you can see. All right, are you ready? So your direct question is, do you speak Italian? Now, if I want to change this to an indirect question, maybe I'm asking someone I don't know so well. What do I do? What can I ask? There's more than one right answer. Do you speak Italian is a direct question. How do I make this an indirect question? Very good. While you're writing your answers, something I wanted to mention about the phrase, would you mind? If you decide to use would you mind, you need to change your verb to ing. Okay, I put it in parentheses. I'm not sure if you can see it. But if you use would you mind, your verb needs to be a gerund. It needs to have ing after, which I see some of you got that correct in your answers. Great job. So I was wondering if you speak Italian. Would you mind telling me if you speak Italian? Good. Is there any chance you speak Italian? Very good. I'd like to know if you speak Italian. Great job. All of these are correct. Very good. Great job. Okay, next one. Our direct question is, can you help me finish this project? Can you help me finish this project? This is direct. I want to change this to indirect to sound more polite, less demanding, right? So what phrases can I use? I'll let you all, more than one right answer for this one as well. Can you help me finish this project? How am I going to change this to an indirect question? Give everyone a few minutes. Very good. Would you mind helping me finish this project? Would you mind helping me finish this project? Or do you mind helping me finish this project? Good. I was wondering if you can help me finish this project. Very good. Would it be possible if you help me finish this project? Or maybe, would it be possible for you to help me finish this project? Sounds a little better. Good. Would you mind helping me finish this project? Good. Is there any chance you could help me finish this project? Very good. Again, this just sounds nicer, right? If I just say, can you help me finish this project? It's a little more demanding. But if I change it to, would you mind helping me finish this project? It sounds a lot nicer, a lot more polite. Good job. Okay, let's do two more to practice. Our direct question is, where is the nearest gas station? Where is the nearest gas station? How do we change this to an indirect question? Give everyone a minute or so to type your answers in the chat. Where is the nearest gas station? I'm lost. I'm almost out of gas. I need the nearest gas station. Very good. Could you tell me where the nearest gas station is? Good job. Do you happen to know where the nearest gas station is? Remember, we have to move, if we have the verb be in an indirect question, it needs to be moved after the subject, okay? So where is the nearest gas station is direct, and is comes before the subject. Now, if we're changing it to indirect, it needs to be after the subject. So it would be, could you tell me where the nearest gas station is? Very good. I'd like to know where the nearest gas station is. I was wondering if you know where the nearest gas station is. Okay, that's an important rule. So don't forget, if you have the verb be, it needs to be moved to after the subject in an indirect question. Good job. Okay, let's do one more. You can answer this, give me the indirect question, and then feel free to actually answer the question and tell me what you will do tomorrow, okay? So the direct question is, what will you do tomorrow? How do I make this an indirect question? What will you do tomorrow? What will you do tomorrow? Give everyone a minute to send through their answers. This one is a little trickier. Oh, good. Someone changed it around. Good. I was wondering what you are up to tomorrow. Good. Or what are your plans for tomorrow? Could you tell me, so you would need to add a common phrase, could you tell me what your plans are tomorrow? I'd like to know what you will do tomorrow. Good. Would you mind telling me what you'll do tomorrow? Very good. Do you have any idea what you'll do tomorrow? Great job. Very good. Okay, and tell me, what will you do tomorrow? Do you have any idea what you'll do tomorrow? Will you take Cambly classes? Will you rest? Will you work? How are you going to spend your Monday? While you're answering that question, if you have any other questions for today, please let me know. I know some of you joined in late, so don't forget if you missed something, please go back and rewatch the lesson. It's going to be recorded, or it already is recorded, and uploaded to Cambly's YouTube channel so you can watch that again. And also, if you didn't have a chance, I'm standing in the way, so you didn't have a chance to see the direct question side, what QASM is, how we form a direct question, the exceptions to it, why do we use an indirect question? Of course, we want to sound more polite, right? Some of the common phrases we use, and don't forget about the rules that we have to follow, okay? For those of you who are on Cambly, good luck with your classes this week. If you are new here and you don't know what Cambly is an online English learning platform. You can connect with native English speakers to build your confidence and practice your English with a touch of a button. 24 hours a day, we have great tutors across the globe in many different countries. Maybe even some are living in your country where you're from. That is it for today. Thank you so much for joining. I hope you all either learned something new about direct and indirect questions, or you got a good review if you've already learned this topic. Everyone have a wonderful week. Thank you so much, and we will see you next time, okay? Bye.